Welcome back to my channel, everyone. Today's video, I'm going to show you how I invert sheds when I get snake sheds. So with this one, it's a Gaboon Viper. It broke in two, so I'm going to invert both parts. And I do this because you can see how different and vibrant the pattern is after inverting it. Now this process takes a while and it's got to be done just right. So I'll do a voiceover and speed up some of the parts, but I just want to show you how I do it. But yeah, subscribe if you're new. Post videos on venomous snakes, so if that's something you enjoy, subscribe. Now it's hard to describe the perfect time to start this process. So right after they shed, it's usually pretty wet, and that's not a good time to do it. It sticks together. But a perfect mixture between it starting to dry up and still being a little wet, that's the best time in my opinion. But this one I found maybe a few hours after it shed, so a quick misting was good enough to get it to that perfect point. But if it's one that has shed months ago, let's say, I will soak it in water. Just put it in a little bucket of water. And then I take it out and leave it there, and once it starts drying, I wait until it's dry enough that it feels just a little tiny bit wet, and then I start the process. But like I said, this one, maybe a few hours, a quick misting was all it needed. And again, it was broken in two parts. This also adds to the ease. When it's all together in one, it's a little bit more difficult. So I go very slowly, just pulling a little bit at a time and then adjusting. So once I do the top part a little bit, I get the bottom, grabbing the lips, let's say, and just pulling it down slightly. Now, you have to be very delicate when doing this because it's so easy to rip the shed. And like I mentioned before, when it's so wet, it sticks together and it's near impossible. It takes hours when it's super wet. And what I find is the bigger ones, or even a heavy-bodied snake like this Gaboon, it's not that long of a snake, but it being heavy-bodied makes it slightly easier. But the small vipers takes forever. Because with those smaller and slimmer snakes, getting the tweezers in, it's just hard to grab it at the right part without ripping. And I use smaller tweezers for those. Now it being split in half, it's easier, as I mentioned. So the top part's done. Now we're going to start on the bottom half. Now before I started recording, again I misted this piece just at the top. Just misted the top. And now I'm starting the same process. I like to grab the belly scales, so kind of fold it. So just grabbing the belly scales with the tweezers and then adjusting the top part of the body and pulling down gently. And to mention why I like to do this, especially with these snakes that have patterns, clearly to show the pattern better, but also you get to see the scales for how they look on the actual snake. So if they're keeled, you get to see that texture, the keeled texture. Of course, I drop the shed. I do that constantly. But yeah, just a time-consuming process. Now, I wanted to do this just to show, well, first of all, to show how I do it, but I also want to know if anyone else does this. I know that if it's too ripped, so sometimes, snake sheds, the skin is ripped already. I will cut down the belly scales with scissors and just unfold it so it's a flat piece. But I try to do this when it's a full shed or like this one, ripped but not torn on the actual body. So yeah, let me know if you guys do this and what you think of this. It's sped up, but yeah, time consuming for sure. Now I'm getting close to the part where even if it's a full shed, it becomes easier. So once you pass the tail, it's much quicker And that's the part where it just goes a lot faster, in my opinion. So once I get past that tail part, I can just tug. As you can see, I'm just pulling, and it's unraveling very quickly now. Now, although this part makes the process much quicker and a lot easier, once you reach the thin tail, that is another difficult part. Now, what I do is when I get to that point, I bring out smaller tweezers and work on it as gentle as I can to get the tail part unraveled. Just look at how defined that is now. Beautiful.